It's so amazing that you're here. This 8-part series is intended to break myths, empower women, and provide real actionable steps. We're going to help midlife women manage their weight without extreme diets or overexercising. I'm Charlene Stiles, and I'm a holistic nutritionist. I call myself a metabolism mechanic and a life coach.
Love that. I love that. And I'm Cheryl Gordon. I'm a professional yoga therapist, but the real reason I'm here partnering with Charlene is because I wish this resource would have been available to me 10 years ago.
And for me, after years of helping women transform their health, I found myself facing challenges when I myself hit perimenopause. What once had worked just didn't anymore. And that led me to dive deep into hormones, metabolism, and midlife, particularly for women. First, to solve my own struggles, and then to help others do the same. So now I'm here to share what actually works so that you don't have to waste the time guessing or feeling stuck like I did.
So Charlene and I are totally committed to getting this essential info out to women like us. Each episode of this 8-part series will be under 20 minutes. We'll blend nutrition and movement and stress management and mindset to create sustainable results.
Cheryl and I are both dedicated, I believe, to supporting women like you and like us find the answers in a sea of misinformation and outright craziness sometimes.
So let's dive in. So menopause kicked my butt. I'm a little embarrassed to admit that it wasn't the hot flashes or the wrinkles or the sleeplessness that finally drove me to ask for help. It was the weight gain.
I get that. And so many of my clients come to me as well, frustrated with the menopause weight, especially the stubborn menopause belly that we refer to, that seems to appear sometimes overnight and refuses to budge. And I get it. It can be confusing because what worked in our 30s just doesn't work the same way that it used to anymore.
And the messaging in my mind was so judgmental. You know, you're snacking too much. You should bicycle longer, get your heart rate up, you know?
I know, all myths. So let's first look at busting one myth, and that is something I think we should shout out from the rooftops. Midlife weight gain isn't just about eating less and moving more. It's about changing hormones and shifting our metabolism. And here's the why. As estrogen declines with time, fat storage patterns shift and our bodies start holding on to weight, especially around the midsection. And at the same time, insulin sensitivity decreases, making blood sugar spikes and crashes more common, which then fuels the cravings and increased fat storage. So we throw in higher cortisol from stress, which signals the body to store more fat as protection, plus this natural decline that we have in muscle mass. And suddenly our metabolism is running at a completely different speed than it used to. And I really can't wait to show you the metabolism facts in our next episode.
Yeah, we have a great visual that's going to be coming up that will explain this in the next episode. You know, beating myself up that I wasn't exercising enough or that I had to like cut out all carbs was definitely not the answer. And I know this not only because the research supports this, but because my own body was proving it.
Yeah. And the good news is, as we know now, that you're not stuck with it. Midlife weight gain isn't inevitable. Once you can understand how your hormones and metabolism are shifting, you can make small strategic adjustments that work with your body instead of against it.
So let's talk about those adjustments, Charlene. I just want to highlight that making all the changes at once is counterproductive. Change is only sustainable when it's sequential and broken into manageable bites. It means that I needed to set some goals to be kinder to myself and find patience as my body and I figured out this stage of life. And Charlene, this is what you do with your clients, right? Create individual plans.
Yeah, I've literally worked with hundreds of women just like us. And one of the biggest shifts that we can make to support metabolism is prioritizing protein. So as we age, muscle mass naturally declines, which slows our metabolism and makes it easier to store fat, especially around the midsection. And protein is the key to preserving the muscle that we have, keeping the metabolism active and geared up, and then preventing that stubborn weight gain. It also helps us stabilize blood sugar, which helps to reduce cravings, energy crashes, and the fat storing effects of insulin spikes. The bonus here is that it also keeps us fuller for longer so that you're not constantly battling hunger. So, what can this actually look like? And it would vary from person to person, but 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal is a general good zone. For me, I work with my clients independently to find out what's right for them, but if we're looking at averages, this could be something like 3 eggs at breakfast, or a piece of salmon or chicken at lunch, or a really hearty lentil or veggie bowl for dinner. And a bit of an advanced strategy that I use is to make sure that you're getting a variety of proteins in your diet. So it's easy to eat the same foods on rotation. Our minds love familiarity, yet our bodies need a variety of nutrients from various foods, specifically from amino acids that proteins that our bodies can't make on their own. And that's why we actually need to ingest them through food. So instead of focusing on eating less, we need to start focusing on eating smarter, fueling your body with enough protein, and then you'll naturally support your metabolism, your energy, your hormones without feeling deprived.
And I also had to be willing to take a really fresh look at so many of my lifestyle habits. I mean, I did yoga daily and I meditated and I hiked and I biked, but achy joints really caught me off guard. It made me nervous to move. I was worried that Zumba class would put my back out. As we lose muscle mass, we become more susceptible to injury, and it's kind of like a vicious circle. I really started to feel quite old. But the reason we feel achy at my age is because estrogen acts as a regulating factor in nearly all types of musculoskeletal tissue. This is your bone, tendons, muscle, cartilage, ligaments, fascia, even my fat tissue. So the midlife drop in estrogen that begins in perimenopause is like a catalyst for all this. We need to understand as women that the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause affects approximately 70% of us. Yet 40% of us women who go to the doctor, there'll be no structural findings on an x-ray or an MRI or a scan. And then we're just told it's psychological or just get used to getting old. You see the scale going up, but the pressure to exercise goes up too.
Agreed. And if our joints are achy, exercising more just isn't any fun. So there's no lure to do it. So that just adds other things, one more thing to the to-do list. And that gives us enough stress just as it is.
So the big game changer for me was acknowledging that the stress of my life was hoarding the weight.
Yes. So common, cortisol. And if we're dealing with stubborn midlife weight gain, stress may be playing a much larger role than we think.
Even for yoga teachers.
Everybody. So cortisol, as you may know, is our body's main stress hormone. And when it's running high, whether it's from work or poor sleep or skipping meals, insulin crashes, or even over exercising, our body then goes into survival mode. And that means we're holding on to fat, especially around the belly, and then slowing down digestion because your body thinks it needs to conserve energy. And the kicker here is that even if you're eating well, if your cortisol is too high, your body may not be digesting and absorbing the nutrients properly. So instead of fueling your body, food can sit like a brick in the stomach, leading to all kinds of gastric issues like bloating, sluggish digestion, and even energy crashes.
And let's admit it, I mean, Charlene and I both are yoga teachers. We practice daily, but we have capital letters stress. Stress response isn't inherently bad. I mean, it's how I get up out of bed in the morning or how Charlene and I got these videos organized. You're not doing anything wrong if you have some stress. It's just the chronic, wearisome, like I have no control over this stress that we're talking about.
Right. And the good news is that we can absolutely lower cortisol naturally. It takes some lifestyle shifts, but some simple things like even eating balanced meals instead of skipping or rushing through them, taking deep breaths, calming the nervous system before we eat, and actually allowing the body to slow down. So prioritizing things like sleep and rest, these can make a huge difference.
So for us goal-oriented, kick-ass women, We really need to start prioritizing our own comfort. This was a key point in my weight loss last year, taking a deep dive into how to create a feeling of safety and kindness for myself. I mean, decades of making sure everyone else was happy and fed left me starving for a little nurturing. It was really tough. It honestly, it was really tough to come up with a plan that celebrated the little small wins that are along the journey. I needed to prove to my nervous system that I was a priority. Everything was about relaxing with a glass of wine or indulging in chocolate as a refuge from discomfort, or maybe a little retail therapy. But none of those things truly nourished my soul. Resting is vital to weight loss. We'll talk more about that in episode 4. But so is investing in authentic and supportive relationships. Boundary setting. Whoa, is that ever hard? I never was very good at that. Asking for what I need. Again, something I'm really not good at. And also truly being present in this moment instead of planning or worrying about what might come next. We'll talk more about this in episode 7, which is probably my favorite of all 8. So, Charlene, if you had to boil this whole video down to just a couple key points, what would be the new rules for midlife weight management?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's no magic bullet. But if I had to really boil it down to a few key shifts that would make a difference in midlife, I would say first, balance blood sugar. If blood sugar is spiking and then crashing all day, our body is constantly in this fat storage mode that's contributing to even more physical stressors. So instead of skipping the meals or fasting or grabbing quick carbs, focusing on protein, fiber, and healthy fat at every meal tends to keep things steady.
And a shout out here to mindful eating. That was a big part for my weight loss as well. We'll talk more about that next session. Magic stuff.
Yeah. And then second, I would say prioritizing protein. We, as we talked about earlier, we naturally lose muscle mass as we age, and that slows down metabolism. And particularly for women, we can tend to lose up to 2% muscle mass per year after the age of 30. So, if you multiply that out into your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, it can be quite catastrophic. So eating enough protein, about what we talked about, 25 to 30 grams per meal is a nice average place to start. That's going to help preserve the muscle, keep you full, and supports fat loss. But eating protein isn't enough on its own. We actually need to use that protein, which leads me to number 3, which is to focus on building muscle instead of burning calories. A lot of women try to out cardio midlife weight gain, but too much cardio can actually backfire by raising cortisol and then actually breaking down muscle. So, strength training and walking are far better for metabolic function and hormone balance. And then we get to put the protein to use.
Yeah, strength training for women is absolutely essential. You can get a great bone building workout done in about 20 minutes versus, maybe an hour on the treadmill. So that's a lot of time saved for your busy life.
Yeah, and probably way more fun.
I think so.
I never enjoyed long sessions of cardio. I always wanted just to be done. Anyhow, so way more fun. And fourth, I would say support the nervous system. We've been talking about this throughout this video. If your body is in this constant state of stress, high cortisol tells the body to store fat, especially around the belly. And this increases cravings and impacts the sleep that we were talking about, which is when we do our healing and recovering, leading to more stress if we don't get that time, that optimal time to repair. So, simple things like what we talked about, deep breathing, slowing down when you eat, getting quality sleep, these all make a huge, massive difference.
So be sure to tune in episode 5 to learn a lot more about sleep and weight loss.
Yeah. And midlife weight management isn't about eating less and moving more. I don't think I can stress this enough. We've been conditioned to think this basic, plus minus is the solution. And your body that's not working the way it once did, I want to just reaffirm that it's not broken. It is always working for you. The key isn't pushing it harder or getting frustrated with it because it's not operating the way that it once did, but really to understand what it needs now and learning to work with it. And when you do that, everything will get so much easier.
Charlene, I so appreciate how you have researched and field tested this wisdom so thoroughly. I hope so many women watching share this video with their friends because we can create a revolution here.
I agree. I'm totally down for that. So tune into our next episode and we'll dive a little deeper into metabolism and that it's not what we're talking about, just calories in and calories out.
Awesome. And in the meantime, you can find a lot more resources on either of our websites. Charlene is purenaturalhealth.ca, or I am CherylGordonYT.com.
Yeah, and for now, check out the links in the show notes and you can have access to, I have a free 5-day hormone balancing meal plan to get you started if you want to get going right now for free.
Awesome. And please subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our episodes, and comment to let us know how your Empress journey is unfolding and whether these topics are relevant to you too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.